All right, and we are recording this session. Hello and welcome to today's webinar, an introduction to proven and tested SEO strategies. We're hoping that you're going to learn how to, optimize your website so that you show up at the top in Google. That's the ultimate goal of today's webinar. My name is Chris Ralph. I'm the founder and president of Boulder SEO Marketing, originally from Switzerland, moved to the Boulder, Colorado area about 25 years ago. Awesome place for a Swiss person. There's amazing mountains here, hiking, biking, skiing, all that good stuff. Then I've been doing digital marketing for about 2 decades, and I will speak globally about SEO and international SEO. And when I don't work, I try to do fun stuff like this, surfing in Costa Rica. Daniel, over to you.
Yes, I am originally from Brazil. I have been here for a very long time. I used to live in Los Angeles and run a digital agency there, mostly focused on website design and development. And for a big part of that time, we used to create amazing looking websites, a lot of award-winning websites, but we didn't really focus too much on SEO and the importance of getting ranked. So that's how kind of I started moving into SEO direction in terms of, yes, it's important to have a great website, but it's important to generate traffic to it. And now more than ever, the idea of really having, the 2 hats, one SEO and the other one of the website design, and wearing them both at the same time is a very, very, very important aspect of managing your SEO, because the way the website works and the way the website interacts with users plays a huge influence in the way that Google is going to index your site. So that's a big part of what I bring to the table, is really that background experience in the website design and development.
And then we'll get to it a little bit later in this presentation, but SEO has, in my opinion, completely changed over the last year or so because of recent Google algorithm updates. We'll talk about that, and then we're also going to introduce you to what we call the Seo Strategy Framework. We'll show you basically how SEO needs to be done today if you want to see results. All right. And then again, feel free to plug your questions into the chat or Q&A feature there, and then we'll get to the questions at the end of the presentation. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to address questions. And also at that point, feel free to unmute yourself. We're going to make this like as engaging as possible. We want to make this as informal as possible as well. So yeah, here we go. All right, so the next 75 minutes, you will not become an expert in all this stuff that we're going to take a look at. It's not enough time, right? So I got into SEO about 25 something years ago. I'm still learning every day. Google updates its algorithm every day. And then massive updates on, I would say, a quarterly or bi-monthly basis. So this stuff changes all the time. So my recommendation, if you really want to do this stuff yourself, you have to learn every day, keep up to date. All right, so we're going to have a pretty packed agenda here today. These are all the things that we're going to tackle. Let's get right into it. So Daniel, why should somebody do SEO? How much does a lead cost?
Well, the SEO is the gift that keeps on giving. The cost of generating an SEO lead is usually a lot lower than doing it through pay-per-click, but most importantly, the quality of the lead and the traffic that you get through organic is much higher with a much higher conversion rate.
Yeah, so basically, I used to do cold calling earlier in my professional career. I hated it, right? It was not pleasant for me or the other person on the other end. Nobody wants to be bothered. So SEO, people are searching for what they're looking for. If you show up at the top in Google, there's a really good chance that, if they get to your website, if you have a nice website that's accommodating, that somebody would like to take an action, or set up for somebody to take an action, they will get in touch with you, right? So our own closing rate, if we get a good lead, we get to talk to them, I would say it's probably 80 to 90%, right?
Yeah, I would say that is very true.
And the good thing is luckily we can be pretty selective now because of our own SEO efforts. It's an awesome position to be in, right? All right, that's why we do SEO. This is why we do SEO. This is a real customer example. This client, it's a pretty boutique barware company. They came to us, I think about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago. They wanted to rank, one of their goals was to rank for pour spouts related keywords. And I'll talk more about the micro SEO strategy campaign that we deployed for them. But basically, if you do a search now for best pour spouts, you'll see at the top there, there's image ads, right? If you click on those ads, Google gets paid, but we're now #1 for, you know, pretty competitive keyword, best pour spouts. We're beating BevSpot, you know, other really big companies, including Amazon, etc. This page is killing it. It's making them so much money. And we'll talk about specifically about this page and how we deployed a micro SEO strategy around that page, and, you know, why, you know, this is the new SEO. We'll explain everything exactly what needs to happen here. All right. Also, this page now ranks globally in other English-speaking countries. So if you want to do a check, just go to a website called isearchfrom.com. It's a really cool site. You can check rankings for keywords around the globe. Just do a search for, you know, any pouring spout or best pour spouts, etc. And you should see that page rank at the top in the UK, Australia, etc. So if you want to go global, this is a strategy that works amazingly well. We're also hosting an international SEO webinar. You're probably ending up on our email list, so you'll hear about that sometime in the future. All right, so Daniel, micro SEO campaigns. We recently trademarked that term. It's the new name of the SEO game, right? What's a micro SEO campaign, or why would we deploy micro SEO campaign?
Yeah, and I'll start answering that question by explaining what's not a micro SEO campaign, which is usually the way things were done before in SEO, and actually the way that a lot of agencies still do, which is to create a variety of activities, which is, you know, including link building and doing blog posts and updating technical issues. But they're done randomly across the site with the hopes that, you know, by doing enough of these, the entire website will benefit. Well, the micro strategy is really laser focusing every single activity on a specific page, right, in the specific keyword. So we say, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to see this one page that has a lot of opportunity here, and everything that we do for the next 2, 3, 4 months is going to be laser focused on that page. So we're going to create blog posts that are linking to it. We're going to create press releases that are talking about it. We're going to redo the internal linking strategy focused on it. So what it allows us to do is really, instead of doing a shotgun approach where we're kind of addressing the entire website at once, we're picking and choosing specific areas of the site that have a lot of opportunity for growth and laser focusing all of the activities, because what that allows us to do is see the needle move very quickly, or quicker than usual, on that specific page and keyword. And that usually is a much better way to not only implement strategies, but it allows us to see bigger and quicker results in a much faster way.
Exactly. Yeah. And these recent Google algorithm updates that we'll talk about in a little bit, that's exactly what they are all about. Even as a small company, you can now compete with the big boys. You can outrank, you know, Amazon, Walmart, Target, etc. So this is what these micro SEO campaigns are all about. All right. So basically, we're, you know, as Daniel just mentioned, we're going to identify a page that is already ranking in some form or shape for some really interesting keywords that have, you know, a high search volume, but the page is not on page 1 yet, right? It ranks on page 2, 3, for these interesting keywords. So we'll pick that page. Then we're going to completely redo the page. Basically, we're going to create the best possible piece of content out there in relation to the target SEO keywords. So we're going to optimize this page for. Then we're also usually picking a money maker page. So let's say if we pick a blog post, right? We want to send people over to a, let's say, a services or products page where people will actually take the desired action, where they're going to buy the product or, you know, the service, etc. So those are the correlations with these micro SEO campaigns. And then, as Daniel mentioned, we're going to do press releases, blog posts, case studies, white papers around a very closely related set of keywords, and usually the micro SEO campaign main page and the money maker page works shockingly well. Here we go. That's actually the link to that page. I will send you guys the link to the slide, so no need to write things down or take screenshots. But basically, then you quickly talk about this page. What did it look like before we turned it into the ultimate guide to poor spouts?
Yeah, so it was essentially, you know, a page that had a lot of opportunity because it was a great keyword and it was ranking semi-okay somewhere in page 2, but the page itself was really bad. It was very badly designed. It had just a very little bit of content. So what we said is we said, okay, well, let's get this page and let's turn it into not only just a page about poor spouts, but let's turn it into the ultimate guide for poor spouts. So what did we do? We went and we looked at all of the other pages out on the web that talk about poor spouts. We saw what kind of elements are they talking about, and how can we get this one page that was simply a, you know, an informational page and turn it into the ultimate guide. So we're doing comparison, we're doing infographics, we have frequently asked questions, we have resources, every single thing that we thought that we could put in here to really and truly turn this into the ultimate guide is what we did. So we created that structure, we created this content, we made it look very professional. We talked about the history of it. And this is what happens, right? So once we replace the old piece of content with this new piece of content, two things happen. Number one, Google looks at it and goes, wow, this is really a great source of information. So we're going to rank these guys higher. And the other thing is more and more people now are linking back to this page because it is a true resource. But most importantly, one of the things that this page didn't have before, which we included in there, was call to actions for people to be able to buy the product. Before, it was just a page on poor spouts. But now you'll see really up on the top, it's still a resource. But right off the bat, if someone's actually searching for a poor spout, yes, they can find the informational page, but yes, they can click on that button and purchase the product right away. One of the things that we've seen that completely transformed this business, an example, is, you know, the sales of the actual product soared after we launched this page, and the majority of the sales actually come through this blog post. So when re-engineering a page, it's thinking about, number one, how can we make that page the best and the ultimate resource of information about that subject? And then how can we tie it to, like Chris said, the moneymaker page, right? How can we convert those users?
Yeah, so it's not rocket science, right? It's just like, I mean, it was not an easy thing to create and optimize that page, do the research, etc. It took time, but the results are stunning. You know, right there, this page is now ranking for roughly, I think now about 500 poor spouts related keywords. And it's ranking, you know, on page 1 for so many poor spouts related keywords. So it's truly the gift that keeps on giving, right? And we're not going to get pushed down from the top spot anytime soon. So this effort is truly paying off dramatically for this client. As you can see here, as Daniel mentioned, it's actually now the second highest Google organic landing page on their website. And that page continues to attract more organic hits through Google search. All right. Many of you may have heard about, you need to have a crazy amount of backlinks to rank at the top in Google. There's all these link farms out there where you can buy backlinks. Forget about that. Please do not do that. It's all about high quality, relevant backlinks. Actually, Daniel, do you quickly want to talk about the importance of, why would we want one high quality backlink from a industry relevant website rather than, 1,000 backlinks from completely unrelated websites?
Yeah, and mostly because Google changed the way that they take links in consideration. And, in full transparency, buying links from link farms and private blog networks and getting the most amount of links in the past, that used to work. And that's why a lot of agencies did it. And that's why a lot of clients did. But nowadays, actually, it plays against you. And actually, Google's moving more and more in the direction of a low quality links sending back to your site will actually hurt your chances more. So what Google's really looking for now is not, the number of links, which not only might not get counted, but might be counted against you. What they're really looking for is what are industry publications that are truly talking about this page, and truly, for example, in the case of the pour spout, talking about, hey, if you guys want a true resource about pour spouts, come here and come there. And the reality is, to get those links built in the format that we need them built with that high quality and in the correct places that we need built, they are not going to get built in the old school way of just buying 10, 20, 30 links on a monthly basis. These need to be actually really managed and correctly built with relationships and, a completely different process. So that's why one really good link from one really good publication will trump, dozens of bad links coming in from just normal places.
Exactly. And then also, as you can see here, the page trust of that, the blog that I showed you, it's relatively low, right? So it's still possible to, even with a low page trust, to rank these massive sites. Yeah. So it's all about the quality of the content, the relevance of the backlinks, the obviously the SEO strategies that are deployed. So just want to give you hopefully a little bit of encouragement that you can, beat anybody with this strategy. All right. Let's talk about SEO fundamentals. Jake, what's the best place to hide a dead body?
Oh, it would be terrible if I actually knew the answer to that question.
All right, that's our intern, Jake. He just came to the office. It is on page number 2, right? Nobody is going to go and look on page number 2 on Google. In fact, 2 out of 10 people will click on the paid ad on top of the organic search results, and about 8 out of 10 people will click on the organic search results, and about 62% will actually click on one of the top 4 organic search results. So this is where you need to be, right? Otherwise, you're not going to get people to your website. Even if you're at the bottom of page 1, it's not that useful. So you got to be ideally in the top 3 organic search results. All right, SEO takes time. There's no quick fix for SEO. Daniel, we're telling our clients, probably at least between 3 and 6 months, right?
Yeah, on a good day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends really on the case. It depends on the website. It depends how much hanging fruits there are. It depends on the competition. But yes, at least 3 months to see the needle start moving, which is, standard.
Yeah. Yeah. Good news and bad news. We do have a little bit of time today. The bad news, we only have a little time today. We could talk about this forever. So I do invite you, actually next month, we're going to do a 3-part online SEO course. I'll include that in the follow-up email. It's going to be 3 90-minute sessions where we're going to go a lot more in depth, right? Explain exactly what you need to do, how you need to do. We're going to share templates, etc. So if you're interested, I invite you to sign up. Space is limited, and we're probably sooner than later going to reach capacity here. Again, I'll share that with you guys, or even plug it in at the end of the presentation so that you can join us if you would like. All right. Then change is the only constant thing. As I mentioned earlier, Google updates its algorithm on a daily basis, massive updates on a monthly, bi-monthly basis. So this is not a one-time thing. We need to hack away on SEO on a daily basis. Let's talk about the algorithms, Google's algorithm. When you type something into Google, in this case, one of our target SEO keywords, international SEO training, Google will run this search term through its software script, also known as the Google algorithm, right? There's thousands of signals in that software script. It's made up of multiple software scripts. And we can basically sort of like categorize all of these ranking signals onto one of these 5 pillars there. Okay, there's the technical aspect of a website, and Daniel will talk about that a little more in depth later on. There's the functionality of the website. Daniel will also talk about that a little bit later on. Then there's on-page SEO, anything we can physically do on the website, keyword research, adding the keywords, the meta tags, hyperlinking, etc. Then there's off-page SEO, which we'll briefly talk about toward the end of the presentation. Anything that we can do outside of the website to basically educate Google about who we are, what we do, why do we deserve, to show up in the top of Google. And then, love it or hate it, social media marketing needs to be a part of your SEO strategy. It simply has to be done because Google takes a look at everything that's going on the internet out there. Then there's no SEO without content. So content marketing, as shown earlier, with that piece about pour spouts, it simply has to be done, right? And it has to be done the right way. And we have to create better content than what's currently out there. Otherwise, we're just wasting time, money, and resources, right? So nowadays, when we develop content for our clients, it's going to be, ideally the best possible piece of content that actually has a chance to rank in Google in one of the top 3 spots. All right, so based on how you address all of these or many of these ranking signals, Google and other search engines, they will create or assign a digital credit score to you or your website. In this case, I have a pretty high credit score. It allows me to borrow money at a low rate, right? So I'm going to save thousands of dollars on my mortgage, etc. The same thing applies to your digital credit score. The better you address all of these ranking signals, the higher your digital credit score, right? If I pay my mortgage on time, I get X amount of points. If I pay my car payment on time, I get X amount of points. The same thing applies to all these, the 5 pillars of SEO that we just showed. So it's well worth it, right? Build the highest digital credit score that you can. I hope this makes sense. All right, Daniel, remember when our organic search traffic tanked in June or so, or I think we realized it in July, we lost about 50% of our organic search traffic. Why? We were so busy helping other people with their websites, we completely neglected optimizing our own website. I'm not going to lie, it sucked. It was terrible. Lead flow completely stopped, right? When we were in a position we had too many leads, all of a sudden we did not have enough leads. Daniel, remember every weekend we were here working frantically on, redoing the website, like getting our stuff in order. It took roughly, I mean, it was terrible, but I think it was actually a really good thing to happen to us because it really forced us to look into everything and to never let this happen again. I mean, it was a bad wake-up call, but it was actually a good thing. Now we're on top of things. We learned many new things, and this will never happen again. I mean, it could have forced us to potentially lay off people, which would have really been bad, right? So SEO is not a one-time thing. You need to do this all the time. That's my point here. All right. Why don't we quickly talk about major algorithm updates? In 2015, Google unleashed RankBrain. They incorporated AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning into their algorithms. Major change. Daniel, I'll let you talk more about EAT in a second. It's all about showing that you're an expert, that you have authority, that you're trustworthy. We'll talk about this in a little bit more as it's extremely important. Then the BERT algorithm update basically allowed Google to better understand context. So we can get away from just freaking out about, keywords. Google is getting better at understanding context. So don't just write for search engines, write for people, but still use the right keywords. All right, Daniel, what's the Core Web Vitals algorithm update?
So the Core Web Vitals is essentially an update that Google did, that they started taking more seriously how your website loads and how people interact with it. And it was always very important, but it became really important. It became such an important signal that now if you log into your Google Search Console, which everyone should have access to because there's so much important information in there, you'll see that one of the sections on the left-hand side says Core Web Vitals. And what that is Google telling you, the owner of the website, how you are doing in these three areas: the loading, the interactivity, and the visual stability of the website, which really is directly related to how user-friendly is your website to users, right? How fast is it loading? How quickly can a person interact with the website once they actually get to the page? And I don't know if you've ever been to those pages where things start loading, and as they load, they move things around, and you try to click on something and you end up clicking on something else. That's visual stability. So those are three things that at the core of the website user experience, if they are faulty, that page is being penalized. And Google, because of that reason, they're not going to rank you at a high position because they do not want to provide links to websites that do not provide good user experience. So you definitely want to go to your Search Console and see how your website is doing in those Core Web Vitals. And I would say that in terms of looking at the tech issues on the website, this is probably one of the most important things that the website owner should look at and address if there's issues.
And then if you guys are interested, plug in your website, the URL of your website, and we can run your website through some tools to just give you an idea where you're at with this. And then also if you're willing to share your website, maybe we can use some real examples when we do keyword research, etc. All right, multitask unified model. That is a big update that recently happened, which basically Google is now getting so smart they can pull information from different sources in different languages to show us the best possible answer. So as it's all about content, right? It's all about content infused with the right keywords. So this was a big algorithm update that changed many, many things. All right. Okay, I don't want to confuse you, but this is the SEO Strategy Framework that we created. I'm going to zoom in a second here into a couple of these sections. But this is basically how SEO works nowadays, right? When a customer comes to us, we assess the situation, we take a look at, we do a tech audit, etc. And then we basically overlay this mind map or this SEO strategy over what the client is looking for. And then we're going to tackle things on a monthly basis. That's why when we mentioned earlier, SEO takes a little bit of time. There's many things that need to be done, right? Can you do everything at once? Absolutely not. Do we have to be selective? Absolutely, right? So we're not going to completely optimize the entire website in like 2-3 months. We're going to be very selective, but it's all about picking and deploying the right strategy. Ultimately, it starts with understanding, who are you, right? If, let's say you're a client of ours, then we're going to talk about, what strategy do we want to deploy? How are we going to communicate? Onboarding is a big part. Daniel, just very briefly, how long does onboarding take and why is it so important?
It usually takes anywhere between 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And it's so important because, again, not every website strategy and process is going to be the same. And if it is, it's a mistake, right? We don't want to get a client and then start creating blog posts, build the linking. So what we need to do is we really need to understand where this website is, what the landscape looks like, what the competition looks like. And then from that, we usually get a list of 50 things that we should be focusing on, tech issues and optimizing this and optimizing that. And then we start prioritizing to say, okay, so we can get the fastest results from our initial activities. What are, again, the low-hanging fruit opportunities? What are the things that we need to focus on more? And the reason that onboarding takes a little bit of time is when it's done correctly, it sets really the foundation for every activity that's going to be done for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and making sure that these activities are not just random activities that are getting done in there. Going back to the micro strategy, every single activity is focused on one goal. So at the most, once we actually create this initial foundation, for the first 3 to 6 months, we're going to be working on 2 micro strategies. So we might do 60, 70 different actions for the first 3 to 6 months, but they're all focused on 2 specific goals, right? And really to put together that plan and to put together that action, there's a lot of different things that we look at. There's a lot of different systems, rankings inside the website, outside the website. So, it takes time to do it correctly. And that's really what sets apart a really good strategy from, kind of your cookie cutter, recipe that a lot of us are used to seeing and SEO companies saying, pick package 1, package 2, package 3. You definitely want to stay away from packages because, an SEO strategy really needs to be thought about and catered to your specific needs.
Absolutely. Ultimately, the goal is that we can help or that you can get people, the searchers, to Google to your website, right? That's the ultimate goal here. Daniel, quickly, what are your money, your life customers? And then I'll quickly share from the mind map what needs to be done for those clients.
Perfect. So, and very quickly, and there's a lot of reading that you can do on it. Is any website that deals with finances, money, health, mental health, physical health, doctors, anything that falls into that category, Google takes they treat these websites differently, where these websites will only start ranking if you have a really high domain authority, meaning that you have really proven to Google that not only are you a legit website, but you are a legit website that is surrounded by experts that are true thought leaders in this industry. So anytime that something is going to be able to influence your life, either financially or, in the health, Google takes a whole nother layer of caution to make sure that you are a legitimate site. And because of that, anytime that we figure out if a website falls into that category, the approach is completely different, right? Your usual approach that would work for somebody that's not in that category wouldn't necessarily work for somebody there. And then Chris will walk you through kind of those steps.
Yeah, so basically you have to create EAT, right? Expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness. So this is how you build basically your domain authority. This is basically how you prove to Google that you're a legit website in, you know, the medical, financial, etc. spaces. Those your money, your life section, right? As you can see, I'm not going to go through everything here, but there's a lot of off-page SEO things that you can do. Digital PR, right? Get some press, speaking engagements, etc., etc. This is basically one of the most difficult things when it comes to SEO, because we're not completely, you know, always in control of these things, right? So this is why this is, I'm not going to lie, this is one of the most challenging things. Yeah, Kenya?
Yeah, and then part of the strategy again, and some of you might be asking, you know, do I fall into that category or not? It's hard to know because, you know, some are obvious and some are don't. And an easy way to find out, which is what we do as part of the strategy, is you'll get one of your keywords and you put it on Google search. And what happens is you look at all of the other people that are getting ranked up there. If you see that all of them have domain authority of 70, 80, 90, you know for a fact at that point that Google then is only ranking domains that have a high domain authority. And for the most part, you probably fall into that category, which means if your website has a domain authority of 30 or 40, what we need to do is we need to focus all of our activities in the initial months to grow that domain authority. And how do you do that? You really focus on these EAT activities. And that's how, you know, it really changes the direction of everything that we do, depending on, you know, who you are and where you kind of fall.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about keyword research for SEO. We'll take a look at how to research and create an initial target SEO keyword list from scratch. And then we're also going to identify low-hanging fruit SEO keywords. If your website has been up and running for a while, I guarantee you, even if you haven't done SEO, it probably ranks for certain very interesting keywords that, you know, you could build a micro SEO campaign around. All right. Jake, do you know the difference between a short tail and a long tail keyword?
I do not.
All right. So a short tail keyword, it's basically 1 or 2 words strung together. Denver SEO usually has high search volume, usually lower search intent, right? This could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. It's pretty competitive, lower relevance. So this search term, Denver SEO services, right, is probably has lower search volume, but probably higher intent, right? So if I would have to pick, if I could be number 1 for one of these terms, I would probably go with Denver SEO services. Simply, it will probably get us the better people to our website that are potentially ready to engage with us. So don't just go for the shiny objects. Probably go for longer tail keywords. All right, let me introduce you to a few keyword research tools. What you're seeing here is Google's Keyword Planner. You can use this tool if you are running an active Google Ads campaign. If you don't run an ads campaign, you're going to get these crazy ranges from, like, 1,000 to 10,000, totally useless data. So you need to run an active Google Ads campaign. As you can see here, I typed in Denver SEO. There's about 2,400 people searching for this exact keyword. Here's the cool thing. This tool now also tells me, hey, here are related terms such as Denver SEO company, Denver SEO agency, lower search volume, but again, probably higher intent. And as you can see here, Google is actually charging more for Denver SEO company if you want to be at the top in Google on the ads than for Denver SEO. So this tells me a lot higher intent, right? One of our favorite tools, it's a paid tool. I think it's about $80 a month. It's called SE Ranking. We have a nice partnership with SE Ranking. So I'd like to plug them a little bit. Also, they are in Ukraine. Luckily, most of the employees have been able to flee to Poland, so most of them are safe. But definitely, if you're interested in investing into a tool, please, please, please consider them. Awesome tool. Let's quickly take a look at how to use SE ranking for keyword research. Again, if there's anybody who would like me to use their website, just plug it into the chat. Otherwise, this is the keyword research section on SE ranking. So I looked at, okay, Denver SEO company. I want to know how difficult is it going to be in general to optimize this keyword in Google, right? It's definitely doable. Then I want to see how many people are searching for these keywords. So you get on a month-by-month basis, it fluctuates a little bit. Here's the cool thing. This tool will give you similar keywords, related keywords, low search volume keywords, right? You can dissect, go crazy here, really do a good job finding potentially the right keywords that you want to optimize your website for. Daniel, how many keywords do we usually go through, even for smaller websites?
Oh my God, thousands. And the reason we do that is because we look at every page on the website. So if you have 10 pages on the website, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at all the keywords that you currently rank for. Then we're going to go through this tool like this and look for all the new opportunities. And that usually generates hundreds of keywords per page. And then we get all of those keywords and then we start prioritizing good, 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 bad, bad, bad. And once we have a list of, let's say, 10 good opportunities, then we have to make a decision and say which one's going to be our primary keyword and secondary keyword for each. So the process of doing keyword research correctly, it's usually pretty intensive, right? Because you want to look at all the opportunities, make sure you didn't miss anything, and then from that list of all opportunities, choose the ones that end up becoming the focus for a lot of what you do and moving forward.
Right on. Yeah, again, this is an awesome tool. If you're looking for a paid tool, I would absolutely go with this tool. All right, Daniel, what is a low-hanging fruit keyword?
So a low-hanging fruit keyword is what we love to see when we're working with a new client. And it's almost exactly where you hide a dead body, right? It's a keyword that has, position 4 to 30, meaning that it's not in the top 3, it's bottom of page 1, maybe page 2. But it's a keyword that's very relevant to the business. So it's a keyword that would be very interesting for the business, but it also has good search metrics. And what makes a low-hanging fruit opportunity good is that if we're going to focus on a keyword that's on page 50, well, that's going to take us a long time to get it to page 1. But if that keyword is already on the bottom of page 1 or maybe somewhere in page 2, it takes a lot less effort from us to be able to nudge it up to the top of page 1. So those are essentially the 3 elements that make a good low-hanging fruit opportunity.
And then as you can see here, because we got hit by an algorithm update, we actually created a Micro Seo campaign for our Denver location. As you can see here, this page is now ranking for all of these keywords, including a lot of high search volume keywords. So let's say, already ranking in the top 3 here for many of the, let's say, SEO companies Denver. We're at position 4. 1,000 people are searching for this keyword, right? We probably should put a little bit more effort into, getting into the top 3 organic search results. So this would be a good opportunity for us to deploy a micro SEO strategy for one of these low-hanging fruit SEO keywords. All right. Let's carry on here. Then, so now we know our keywords. Now, what are we going to do with those keywords, right? Let's talk about on-page SEO best practices. Let's implement those keywords, and then let's talk about content optimization, meta tags, alt tags, hyperlinking, etc. All right. So you want to assign, basically, we want to send the right person to the right page on our website. All right, it's called keyword mapping, where we allocate usually 3 keywords to each and every page on our website. This is what a keyword mapping exercise could look like. In this case, you see my personal website. It's all about international multilingual SEO. I would simply create an inventory of all your pages. Something like this will do in Google spreadsheets, right? What is it, the URL, and then assign the keywords that you research that you deem relevant for those pages. That's basically a simplified version of how keyword mapping looks like, okay? Now let's take a step back. Let's talk about snippets before we talk about how to create optimized meta tags, okay? Because optimizing meta tags will lead to the snippets that we want to see in the Google search engine results pages. I'll explain. All right, if you do a search for international SEO training, Google will show something like that. The technical term is called a snippet. Let's quickly dissect the components of a snippet. All right, Google will show a URL. Google will show a title tag. This is probably the most important thing that you can optimize, probably on a page. Then Google will show a description tag, description content. And if you do a good job, if you apply schema or rich snippet content, you'll also get these rich snippet content, site links, etc. All right, make sure in the URL, add your most important keyword. The title tag, stick to about 50 to 65 characters. Again, include your most important keyword. As you can see there, international SEO training, pipe, complimentary webinar, right? So people get it. What is it? And, you know, how long does it take, etc. Then the description tag should be about 150 to 160 characters. Try to include one of your other those 3 keywords, maybe both if you can, but you're limited in terms of character length. And then use Google markup or schema to create the rich snippet content. Simply, we can use it to pull down competitors even further. All right, meta tags creation. So based on how we create the meta tags on the back end of our website, we're going to have a really good chance for Google to display snippets, basically with exactly the content that we put on the back end in these meta tags. Right there, I would use a Google spreadsheet. Again, you inventory all the pages, you assign 3 keywords to each and every page, and then you create optimized title tags, description tags, and also image alt tags. Include a keyword in the image alt tag. So that was basically a real quick intro on how to optimize meta tags.
Just a quick note on that real quick. There was a real light switch moment the first time I heard you speaking about this, because in my mind, I always thought that the meta tags and descriptions were a way for us to, you know, talk about what the website is and put keywords in there and do it naturally. But you mentioned something that's very interesting. You need to have the art to create something that's going to engage conversion. Why is that? Because when you're looking at a search page result, you're going to see position 1, 2, 3, 4, and users are scanning through these different results. So the way that you write that title is going to really increase the conversion rate of people clicking on it, their click-through rate. So that's something that's very important to keep in mind as well as you're writing it. Think about, what else are they going to be reading above and atop, and how can you make that title and description really enticing to the user?
Absolutely, yeah. And here you're looking at it's all-in-one SEO pack. We're using a WordPress website. So based on how you create these meta tags, you'll succeed with potentially showing these snippets in Google as they are written. All right, Daniel, let's talk about content. I mean, you already alluded to it with the crew example. What is content marketing about? Is it all about selling, or what do we want to do?
It's about informing people, and it's really about just being a great source of information about a specific topic. Going back to the pour spout example, when someone is searching for pour spouts, yes, they might be looking to buy a product. Yes, they might be looking to find out a little bit more information on what it is. But what we're giving Google is a true resource that they can present to their visitors in terms of if anybody's looking for any kind of information about pour spouts, this is the place to go, right? So it's really about teaching and giving people the information that they're looking for and helping them become better and more educated purchasers when they're actually going through their process of finding stuff that they need to find, on the internet.
Yeah. All right, here is a blog post creation and optimization template. Again, you're going to get the link to the slide, so you don't need to write this down. So you can make a copy of this template, but basically, who is the content for? Is it for the attention, interest, desire, or action stage? Which higher level page, the moneymaker page, will it support? We spoke about optimized meta tags, trying to include an image. It always breaks up content a little bit. It's easier on the eye. Again, use a keyword in the URL. I would say don't go below 500 or 600 words with any kind of piece of content. Otherwise, it's like a Facebook post. Then try to include the most important keyword in the first paragraph, the other keywords throughout the content. Try to limit your hyperlinks to about 1 per 100 words. Include at least one high quality external link to a Wikipedia or like an industry association, etc. Google actually takes note of that as well. Place relevant keywords in the header 1s, header 2s, etc. Again, please don't forget to include a call to action as we did with the pour spout page. And then these are things that a webmaster will do, submit it through Google Search Console so that the page gets indexed right away in Google's database, and apply schema or Google markup so that rich snippet content will be displayed as part of your snippets. Whew. All right, Daniel, conversion rate optimization.
Perfect. And this is really one of my passions and one of the reasons that I like to talk about this. And the reason is that SEO is so important for all of the obvious reasons that we're talking about, but it's not the only thing that you need to look at. Why? Because, for example, you see on the top there, you have SEO, and this is not true just for SEO. You could be bringing in traffic to the website through pay-per-click ads, social and direct, and all kinds of other ways. And then what happens to the traffic when they get to the site, right? What is the bounce rate? How many people are looking at the site and turning right back around going, nope, this is not it? How many people are actually engaging with the content? And most importantly, how many people are actually converting in the website? So SEO is important because obviously we want to get more and more people coming into the website. But if people are not interacting and converting with the website, that is a huge problem, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all looking at that bottom line, right? Are we increasing the amount of conversions on the website? So what is conversion rate optimization? It's really a practice of raising the conversion rate, or at some points decreasing, bounce rate and other things by compelling visitors on the site to take specific actions, right? And we do that by doing small changes on the website. And I'll kind of walk you through some examples. But here's an example of why I feel conversion rate optimization, it's such a low-hanging fruit again. It's something that, depending on your website, right? It's not great for every website. For starters, a conversion rate optimization will be really successful on a website that has good traffic, right? If the website doesn't have a lot of traffic, well, then it really doesn't apply. But if your site has a lot of traffic, I'll show you an example, right? Let's say that this is an example website. The website has 10,000 visitors a month, right? And it's got a bounce rate of 60%, which is pretty common. We see that a lot. So if there's a 60% bounce rate, it means only 4,000 people from those 10,000 visitors are actually entering the website. And then let's say that the website has a conversion rate of 1%, which again, we see all the time. They're generating 40 leads a month from 10,000 visitors, right? If we wanted to double the leads that they're generating simply by increasing the number of visitors to the website, we would have to bring that number of visitors to 19,000 a month. That's almost double, right? And as we all know, generating twice the amount of traffic to the website organically with paid ads, it's not easy to do, right? It takes time, it takes money. But let's see if we start doing some conversion rate optimization. Again, same site, same traffic, 10,000 visitors a month, but we make changes to the homepage, and now we reduce the bounce rate from 60% to 50%. Now we have 5,000 people that enter the website instead of the 4. And let's say that we make changes and we increase the conversion rate on the website from 1% to 1.5%. Again, easy to do. That's a 0.5 conversion rate bump, right? What we're doing now with the exact same visitors, 10,000 a month, now we're generating 75 leads. And that was all done without having to generate more traffic. And usually changes like that, a decrease of bounce rate and increase of conversion rate of 0.5, something that we can do in 2 to 3 months. So that's why every project that we look at the analytics to see if there are opportunities for conversion rate optimization. Now, the real benefit comes when you do the conversion rate optimization, you're decreasing the bounce rate, you're increasing the conversion rate, you're making that funnel stronger and stronger, and at the same time, you're generating more traffic on the top of the funnel, right? That's the end goal. So how does it work, right? How do we do conversion rate optimization? Well, we do something that's called A/B testing. And it's called A/B testing because we test version A, which is what's there now, with a version B. Right? So let's say that, version A on the homepage, we have that design and we say, that this is causing issues because we think we need to have a different design and it's going to convert better. So we create a second version of that page. And then we use a system, Optimizely is one of them. Google has a good system now for doing A/B tests. And then we run both of those pages. And what the system does is they get 50% of the traffic and send it to one of the pages, and 50% of the traffic and sends it to the other one of the pages. And then after a week or two, you can compare the numbers and say, oh my God, look at that. The top option, option A, has a bounce rate of 17% in comparison to a bounce rate of 25%. Let's go with that one. So when you do tests over tests over tests, really focusing on parts of the website that need to be improved, that continual improving of these metrics will, number one, stick, because those are changes that are permanent on the website, but then are continually increasing, the number of people that you're actually moving down the funnel. There's really 4 steps to running a conversion rate optimization, right? First question is you say, where is the problem? That you do by looking at Google Analytics. First thing that you want to look at is your bounce rate, right? Second thing is you want to look at your conversion rate. The other thing is you want to look at exit pages. That's a huge one. What if you find a page that 80% of people that get to that page leave the website? That's a problem, right? That's what we call the leaky bucket. We need to find out why is it that people are leaving on that page? Then we say, okay, well, let's look at this page and let's look at that 80% exit rate. Number 2, what is the goal? Well, the goal number one, obviously, is we don't want them to leave the website, but what do we want them to do? Is it a blog post that we can give them a related blog post to read? Or is it talking about a product that we can, give them a link to the product page? Or can we have them download a, downloadable asset or an ebook? Then we say, okay, that's the goal. Then we say, okay, so what's the problem? That's when we actually look at the page and we say, why is it that people are leaving the website? And this is where we can use tools like Lucky Orange or some of these other recording tools where we actually record users on the page to see why they're leaving. And then we say, you know what? I think I know why. Our hypothesis is that there's not a call to action on the bottom of the page. If you look at any of your pages and you go all the way down and then there's nothing to do, that's what we call a dead end street. And usually the exit rate on the dead end street is very high. So if you put a relevant call to action on the bottom of the page, you're probably going to be able to fix that issue to some extent. So then we create a version of that page that has, the button on there, and then we create this A/B test. We run it for a little bit and we see which one works better. And I can guarantee you, if you don't have a call to action on the bottom of your page and it has a high exit rate, your version with the call to action is going to work better. Now, once you have that call to action in there, then you could start testing what call to action increases the conversion. Is it a call to action for a product? Is it a call to action for a downloadable, report? Then those are additional call to action testings that you can do. So first, like I mentioned, you want to pick and choose from priority of importance. What are the pages that you want to look at problems? Top entry pages, usually the home page. You get your better performing blog posts. You want to see the most visited pages. Again, top exit pages. Those are very important to look at. Top converting pages, right? Your product page. What's the conversion rate on the product page? Is the button correctly there? Is the unique selling proposition on there, right? And then what is the goal? Do we want to reduce the bounce rate? Do we want to increase conversion? Or do we want to simply increase the engagement on the website? And then when we look at the page, to figure out what the problem is, these are some of the things that you're really looking forward to. The top three being the most important: value proposition. Do people get it? Why are you different? And why is it that you have a better solution than everybody else? It's funny that we say that because it sounds so obvious, but a lot of times, the owner of the website looks at that page so often that they take for granted that the information that they need to communicate is there. But when a first-time user looks at it, it's not that simple. Is that page relevant? And is it clear? I mean, is the page confusing where there's so many things? Is that button hard to find? Those are usually things that we're looking at. And then we create that again, second version. Here's an example of a page that didn't have a call to action on the home page. I can guarantee you the bounce rate is going to be much higher than it needs to be. And then running it with a call to action would make that bounce rate decrease. So, this is then back to you, Chris. But yeah, so a conversion rate optimization, again, what dictates if it's a good fit for you or not is the amount of traffic that you have. Because for a conversion rate optimization campaign to work, you need to have enough visitors and enough traffic in there to be able to generate enough data. So then you can read the information and make these decisions. So
awesome. All right, let's move on here. We're nearly out of time. Let's quickly talk about the importance of technical SEO. We'll take a look at the processes, tools, techniques. So basically, if you have a website, run a technical audit on a regular basis. You want to find out, are there, errors, warnings, notices. Again, you can use a tool such as SE Ranking. They have a site audit section. Actually, this is what it looks like. The website audit, it tells you, hey, it's going to crawl X amount of pages. Ooh, look at that. We got to work on our site a little bit. Slow pages, it just points out issues that you can fix. And Daniel, technical audit, it's something that we do right at the beginning, right?
Yes, because the technical audit is what we consider kind of the foundation of the SEO building that we're putting together. So there's no point of doing a lot of what we're talking about if the foundation is sketchy or not solid. So so taking care especially of the urgent, items. You know, in any one of these audits, you're going to see usually they come with 3 kinds of warnings, like urgent, medium, and low. And then medium and low are okay, and they're mostly warnings, but the urgent stuff is the stuff that you need to take care of, because most likely you're getting penalized for.
Yeah, and then here's a cool tool. It's called Page Speed Insights. I ran the Chris Wolf website through that tool. It's a Google tool. It gives you an overall number. So we haven't touched that website in a long time. Definitely something we need to get on, right, on it. And again, you will get great information. Just expand here what's going on. You probably need a more technical person to help you with this, but this is critically important as it is foundational stuff that could hold your website back. All right. Just want to point out the importance of technical and functional SEO. Here are links to some tools that you can use as part of technical auditing. Again, we like to promote SE ranking, especially now during these times. It's an Ukrainian company. All right, let's very briefly talk about off-page SEO, and then hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A if there are questions. Off-page SEO, it's everything that happens outside of your website. So we're looking here at a Google Analytics screenshot. As you can see there, for this client, we're able to generate a decent amount of money through traffic that is coming from LinkedIn. Right? So we figured out how to optimize LinkedIn company and showcase pages so that they actually show up on page number 1 in Google. Let me quick take a step back here. If you do a search for SEO agency Boulder, it's great that we're at the number 1 position in the text search results, but this is awesome, right? We're number 1 in the local map pack, especially we're, here in Boulder, we want to be found locally. So Google Business Profile, it's absolutely something you need to claim and optimize. But then check this out. This is our LinkedIn company page. That's also on page number 1. And this is actually our Facebook page, also on page number 1, right? So we're taking up quite a few spots on page number 1. And then just another tip here, I guarantee you in your industry, you'll find these directories such as OpCity. Get your website listed in the directories that show up on page number 1. It's a piggyback site where if somebody clicks on that result, you want to have a chance that your website is going to be shown in that directory. Here's a screenshot of Google Business Profile Manager. It's a free Google tool. You can do a lot of things, absolutely worthy to take advantage of this free tool, especially if you are a local business, you need to take advantage of this tool. Let's quickly talk about reporting. If you put effort into search engine optimization, might as well track and report some metrics. This is a very basic, simple way of doing so. Just pull in data from Google Analytics, Google Search Console into a spreadsheet and see if you're making improvements. There are many, many tools out there, free tools, paid tools, etc. If you if you put time into SEO, might as well measure, monitor, and improve. Woo, over. I think we do have a little bit of time for Q&A. Let's see. Are there any questions that we can ask, that we can answer? I know it was a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time. Why don't we share our video? Let's stop sharing our screen here. Stop share. All right, I'm going to plug the link to the online training course into the chat, if I can find it. And then I'll also share it via the follow-up email. All right. Sounds like everything was very clear. Cool. If there are no questions, I would like to thank everybody for your interest in today's presentation. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Join us again next time for our next webinar. I think the 3-part SEO course. Yeah, I hope you guys learned something new, walked away with new information. Thank you, Astrid, for the feedback. Stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll hope to see you next time again. All right, I'm going to stop the recording here. Thanks, everybody.